money has to be saved. Kind of typically like the fire department does their budgets. They look down the road 10, 15 years and they know what piece of equipment needs to be replaced. And I think that's a good approach. And as the city continues to grow, we've got to stay up with the growth so we don't end up kind of in the shadows of North Liberty where they've outgrown everything in a hurry.
You know, I think the city is doing very well now. I really think the community center, I think that would be just a really big, a nice addition, and I really truly think it can bring in some nice revenue to really offset our budgets. I think budgets is something that you always have to, you always have to look at, and you have to be, you got to be cautious. You got to make sure we're not going to, run ourselves into the ground. And I also would like to see maybe some commissions, other committees formed so that more of the community is involved in the decision making when it comes to city council and different items. I've spoken to other people that have lived here longer than me, and there used to be different commissions, and I think that might be something that we could possibly bring back, and it would bring, again, it would get more of the community involved and really feel like that everybody does have a say. It's not just the 5 people that are voting at the committee, at the council meetings. Everybody should have a say. This is our community. It's not one person or this person or that person. It's our town. So, it may be it's probably going to be more work, but I think this community, the way I love the community and the way that I see the people come together, and when things get tough, we all somehow find a way to come together and get things done. So those are a couple of my concerns, but again, I think we can really get the community more involved.
To me, what keeps me up at night is how best we can continue to enhance the quality of life for people in West Branch. To me, it all comes back to that. If we want to be happy, we've chosen to live in a small town because we just like the pace of life, we like the people, we like the amenities, and I think we're definitely on a good path, and I think that we can, go a little bit further with that. I would say that sidewalks is a really important issue in the city of West Branch right now. I would say I'm really happy that the city is applying again for some funding to help support sidewalk improvements. And I think it's really important to me to see the city continue with this kind of phased approach to sidewalk improvements. I think we need to commit every year to identifying which sidewalks we want to have enhanced in the community, and we need to make that happen. We need to commit funding to that on an annual basis. The sidewalks, they need to be ADA compliant, they need to be safe. It's a big issue for our community right now. And in fact, I got a letter from someone recently who was very upset because they'd fallen, they'd injured themselves on a sidewalk that wasn't ADA compliant, and it's something we really need to be thinking about if we want to enhance our downtown and our community as best as possible. I also think that those issues relating to sustainability are really important. We're a flood impacted community. We need to be thinking about how we're going to be managing stormwater very sustainably, especially with new growth coming into the town. We need to make sure we can handle that and that we're not kind of further affecting things in a negative way, just as far as Hoover Creek and West Branch Wapsiunut Creek. We need to those are really important resources in the city, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of them. So that's about it.
She covered a lot of different areas that I was thinking about. As we know, right now we have a contractor that is cleaning the creek out that runs into the Hoover Park, which is a big improvement, cutting trees and the weeds and crap out. Supposedly, there's supposed to be a sidewalk project up here by the gazebo yet this year, and all the way down in front of the restaurant there to make it better walking for people that come to town. I always thought that this town needed a horse and a buggy or something. All the people from the Hoover Park up here that toured uptown. I mean, you go to some of these other states, they have those sort of things. And, that's a way to get the people up here to buy, to spend money. But we'd have to find somebody to clean the streets. But, the town is working, it's starting to get better all the time. I've sat here for over 50 years, and I've seen the different things that have happened, and I'm married a local girl here, came from the western part of the state, I did, and ran the newspaper for a while here. Then I went into construction, and we built a lot of this different things in town, and I need to see those start up again and get going.
One of the common themes that you hear tonight is growth. We want the city to grow. We want to get families here. One of the pressing needs that I see is balancing growth and taking care of the existing infrastructure, and doing it within a budget. When, like Mary Beth said, have certain dollar amounts budgeted in for projects that take care of the existing infrastructure that we have, to get the sidewalks up to ADA compliant, get to a point where everyone can get from point A to point B in a safe way. That's what we all want. And if the council, the city, and the administrative staff, if they see the future and budget for the future, there's no reason that we can't have that. So also with that, planning for the future, getting the sewers up to date, getting the runoff situations taken care of, and really looking not only where the next growth is, but future growth down the road. How are the current things that we're doing affecting future growth? So not only do we have to look at a 10-year plan, but a 50-year plan. And that would be a pressing need that I just see everyone looking 10 years. I don't see any 50-year to 100-year where some younger families are looking. You know, I plan to retire here and stay here, and so I don't want the decisions that we make today, we have to go through in 20 years because all we're looking at is a 10-year plan.
This goes to Mr. Shields. Just this year, the state legislature has enacted some property tax reductions to the tune of about 10%. So my question to you is, what are you prepared to cut to make up for that?
Well, wow, that's a good question. You know, you really got to look at the whole scheme of things, and I think, you know, I sat in on a goal-setting meeting that the council members had a few months ago or weeks ago. You know, and I think what you do is you just kind of, the best way to determine what gets cut is go from, and they did it in a voted way, and you take your goals that you have set for the next year, and maybe the one that's got you the least amount of votes, maybe let's start to trim a little bit off that one and go in that order, as opposed to trying to take, because I feel like with that goal setting, you want to, there's a top priority and you want to get that goal accomplished. That's a big thing. So let's not take away from that part. Let's come from the back and go forward. So I feel like that would be the best way to approach that. To figure out where to cut is maybe just go from the back end and then work your way up, and then, you know, the next year then you redo your goal setting and go from there.
My turn, huh? Yeah, where to cut? That's a tough question. Well, I think the fact that we have kind of cut off the agreement with Acciona, we are going to see some improvement in budget there. And I'll be honest, I don't know where we should cut. I mean, that's a really hard question to answer. I need to look at the budget. I need to think about it. I really cannot say right now, honestly, where I think we are going to be cutting our budget next year. It's going to be a hard decision. We're going to have to talk to city staff. We're going to have to just think about what kind of revenues we foresee coming in to kind of offset that. And again, that's why I really think we need to be thinking about how we can strengthen our economic base by investing in what we can here in the community. I think that right now we are at a really comfortable tax rate in terms of property taxes here when you compare it to what we've got compared to other cities in the area. I think that we're at a pretty comfortable rate. Now, I know that it hurts every year when you have to pay your taxes. It obviously does. If you're a commercial business, if you're a homeowner, it doesn't matter. It does hurt. And I appreciate that. But, you know, I think it's just, we're gonna have to just do some hard thinking, and that would be my approach, is to just listen to staff and try to just go from there.
Cutting the budget, it's gonna be a tough situation. We are lucky that we cut $250,000 off from Acciona, but we don't get all that. School gets half of that or better. But that will help us, and there's some more tax coming back up there from I think P&G's about done up there, as I remember right. So that will help also. I don't want to raise taxes, we don't have to. Try to make it work the way it is. And some of the projects have to be worked over several years. That's the way we'll have to do it. And maybe the legislature will change their mind in another year or two and add it back on. I doubt it. And I don't know how other revenue, we don't have a casino in this county, so we can't get any money from there. We'll have to find another way, to find some way. Grants, things like that. We're gonna need a full-time grant writer, I think, before the next few years are over. And, because a lot of things are gonna have to be done by grants, so.
In order for me to make a knowledgeable concept and put it forward, I really have to understand what our city budget is. If we get down to the nuts and bolts, then we can start to discuss areas where we could cut. Right now, I don't know. I'd have to really look at our budget and figure that out. And for me to make an informed decision, that's what I'd have to do. Looking at from the outside in, without knowing the budget, one thing that I would like to see is private contracting. We have city employees that are doing projects that can be in a competitive bid situation. Everybody knows what the economy is right now, and the private contractors are ultra competitive to keep not only their businesses going, but their employees. So I think that would be an area that we could look at, having outside contractors doing the work versus our own internal employees.
Now, Jim, you're the only one up here that's actually done 4 of these city budgets, so you don't get a pass on this. Tell us what you're gonna cut.
Well, I think with some careful planning, that the fact that we have our tax abatements beginning to expire and some of our industrial development areas are gonna be brought up to speed, using one to offset the other, I think with a little careful planning that we can still strive forward with our projects, and maybe might have to be a little more thrifty, but I think that as the legislature enacts this property tax relief, then we can offset some of it with the fact that these industrial people are gonna be paying a little bit more every year, even though they're gonna be involved in some of the tax relief. But I'm not worried from a counselor's standpoint that we can't accomplish the task. I think all it's gonna take is just some careful planning.
Okay, the next question goes to Mary Beth. Is I-80 a blessing or a curse? And if you do see it as a blessing, what can we do to capitalize on it?
Well, I will tell you, I hear I-80 very clearly from my house. So from that perspective, I don't love that. I'll be honest. Well, I think that it's really important to kind of bring money in where we can in West Branch. We have an industrial area. That industrial area, in my opinion, is where we want to try to generate our revenues tax-wise. And I think that actually makes it a really good location. You know, having I-80 right there, having it be a stopping off place for people, having the gas stations there really can be sort of an attractive point for people when they stop off. So you gotta kind of just make the best with what you have, I think. That's important. So I think we really should take advantage of the opportunity that we have in front of us. So.
My life, here, I-80's been a headache, but all the fires and the wrecks, but if we didn't have that here, this town would be pretty slow and practically dead, I think. P&G wouldn't be here, any of that industrial park probably wouldn't be here. We've got Casey's is gonna build there this winter or next spring, so that's another source of income and taxes for the school and us both. There's gonna be some other, we have a natural gas station coming in to fill semis with natural gas. They're gonna start operating on that, so that's gonna give us some more revenue. And some of those lots up there in the hill are starting to sell pretty fast. And the new Dodge dealer, he's expanding bigger, and so there's gonna be some income up there. But there could be some income down here too as we get some things going. I mean, the housing is really helping. There's some really nice homes being built in the new places, and those tax dollars is gonna help as well. And I think they're gonna start grading the other part of the development up here in the spring, so there's gonna be housing right across from the school, and so people's gonna jump at that, I think, and they'll be prime lots, and so we're headed in the right direction. Just, the interstate's gonna bring these people, you can drive, jump on that interstate and be over to Iowa City quicker than if you could live in Iowa City. And that's one of the advantages of the interstate. And it's getting better. It's gonna be eventually 6 lanes all the way to Davenport, so that will also help.
I view I-80 as a blessing. There are millions of people that drive past our town every year. It's our job as a city to attract a handful of those to make them a part of our community. One idea that was brought to my attention over the last couple of days of talking with people is the area just west of the new Lynch development property. It's visible right on Interstate. And I'm not saying a gas station, because those just pass by. What I'm thinking is a strip mall, small offices where local insurance people, consultants, engineers can have a small office that's visible from the interstate and keep their overhead low. So if we capture the traffic, it's a blessing. If we continue to use it as we do and just let people pass by pumping gas, then it does the city, yes, we get the taxes off the gas stations, but does that really help our community overall in attracting people to our community? So an idea that was brought to me, and I thought it was a good idea to bring to the table, is possibly a second area where you have this, like I said, smaller shops, clothing department, you name it, we can bring it if we just promote it, because we have millions of people driving past here. It's our job to attract it.
I've lived in West Branch long enough to remember what it was like when we didn't have Interstate 80, and it's kind of a two-edged sword in a way. The traffic volume is so much heavier now than it was 10, 20, or 30 years ago when they cars and trucks. I remember being on the fire department and there being an accident, you could go out on the interstate and hold up your hand and stop the cars and kind of go about your business, get the wrecks cleared off. But now, if you tried that, in about 30 seconds, they'd be back clear to Oxford. But we're also fortunate in West Branch that we have a good local road, so the local commuters, if they don't want to be involved in the hustle and bustle of the interstate, they can take the local road to work. And with the volume of traffic out there, I shy away from using it any more than I have to, but all the economic pluses that it's brought to the West Branch community, it's hard to say that it's not a blessing.
I view it, Interstate 80 as a definite blessing. I think it really, it's a highway, but it's so close to West Branch that, you know, families can come to West Branch and still, maybe they work in Davenport, maybe they work in Cedar Rapids, you know, but, you know, if they have one working one working the other way, this is a nice happy medium. So, you know, kind of feeds into wanting to grow the community. I think the location of West Branch is great because the Interstate 80 is essentially, it's an asset to allow families to move into our community, but still, you know, if they need to get somewhere quick or if they have to go, you know, work elsewhere, that, you know, they're not driving 20 miles to get to Interstate 80. So I think it is an asset, and it really, you know, it's going to give families a better opportunity to come into our town and build their own life and their families. So yeah, I think it's a good thing.
All right, the next question goes to Dick. And this is concerning police and future policy. Do you think we have enough policemen in town? Do we need more? Do we need less? And what are your thoughts on traffic cameras?
I think we've got one of the best police departments we've had since I've been here. When we got this new police chief, everything turned around. He needs one more officer, I feel, to be able to give 24-hour-a-day coverage. And with the traffic we've talked about on the interstate and different things, it makes the town safer. We do have the park and people coming in there. Nobody has mentioned the park tonight, what they do for the town. And I think we should have, but the police chief is real fine. He's got the officers he's got are very top notch. They speak to you, they walk around and make you feel safe or as part of the community. So I would like to see him to get, that they applied for a grant and they didn't get it. But I think we need to keep working on that, trying to get that grant, get that other officer so he can operate his business like he wants to.
With the police force, I feel that there's enough police officers on duty all the time. I've never felt unsafe. They do a magnificent job. Mike Forehand, leading that group, has done a tremendous work in helping bring out-of-town people back to the community. So I'm happy with them. I think 3 is enough. There's only 24 hours in a day. If you work an 8-hour shift, there's your 24 hours. Obviously, we're not patrolling 24/7, so we have ample coverage. The interstate, we're not really out there patrolling. I don't think that would be a city's job to patrol the interstate. That's what we have the Iowa State Patrol for. The use of traffic cameras, if the city has a desire to use them, if they feel that the traffic is not stopping, rolling through, speeding, you know, that's a community decision. And that takes everybody's input. That's not a council person's decision. That would be something that the city would step up and say, is the city for it or against it? Do we see a need to spend the money to invest in traffic cameras? So my stance would be no, I don't see any issues with the traffic flow or anyone within the community being unsafe not having traffic cameras.
I think, in my experience, living in West Branch as long as I have and watched the police department, watched the police force evolve from actually a town marshal, I think it's inevitable that we're gonna have to eventually have more people. And one of the reasons that I think that is, as our officers gain seniority and they've been with us a long time, they gain more vacation time and that type of thing. So I think a three-man police force probably is gonna be a thing of the past, because you can't provide 24-hour, 7-day-a-week coverage and have your officers gone on sick leave, gone on vacation. It's not possible. I talked to the county sheriff about it, and I realize we're probably getting along pretty good right now, but eventually we're not. The county sheriff told me that it's not possible to provide 24-hour coverage 7 days a week unless you have a minimum of 5 officers. So I think, you know, eventually it's going to have to happen. So no matter how hard we would like to think that we have peace and quiet here all the time, we may not. When you talk to the officers about things that go on that we don't even hear about, I think it's just inevitable that we're going to have more members of our department.
I think right now, our police force, they do a fantastic job. First of all, I want to salute them. They do a phenomenal job of taking care of our city and, keeping the speed down, patrolling the neighborhoods. I think right now, where we sit as a city, I think we have ample, I feel very safe. I don't feel that we're in need of additional officers. However, as we're all speaking up here at growth, I think we are going to need officers in the future. I think there is a definite need as we grow as a community to provide more officers. As Jim said, yes, they deserve vacations. They're people too. They have families, and it's not fair to them that, hey, you know what, you don't get to take a day off. Well, no, that's not. I don't think that's right. So yeah, I think we will need more officers in the future. As far as the camera, if we get more officers, we shouldn't need a camera. I think we could find other ways to spend our money. But again, I think that's something that should be talked about with the community to see what their views are. And I think somebody can come up and give you an idea and think, well, I didn't look at it that way, but yeah, that's a good point. Maybe we should have cameras. So I think, as of right now, I like where we sit as far as our police force and the cameras, but I'm definitely open to change. I think we all have to be as a community, especially if we're looking to grow. So.
I would definitely like to continue, as everyone else has, is really commending the police force that we have. The chief seems like he's really just doing a great job. I like this kind of emphasis on community policing. I think that's just a really great model, and I'm glad that we're using that. As far as whether or not we need to have more police on staff, I'd like to see a pretty thorough needs assessment. What is it the coverage? Is it the 24-hour coverage? Is that the main thing that we're missing? Or are there other gaps in services that we need to be providing as a community? Is it something that we need right now? Is it something that we need to be thinking about once we reach some tipping point of additional folks moving into the community? So if whatever decision is made, I would really like to just see a pretty in-depth assessment done of what we have, what we need, and where the gaps are. As far as traffic cameras, I'm a little bit on the fence with them. I'm not convinced that they're out there for safety. I think they're probably out there for revenue generation. I mean, I'm just not convinced that it's a safety issue 100%. And, you know, I just think I don't know, if you're looking at traffic cameras to help generate revenue, I just don't know if that's really the best model. So I'm pretty cautious about that. I would not necessarily want to, I'm not gung-ho, like, okay, yeah, let's get one. I'm definitely not going to take that approach, so.
Goes back to Corey. It looks
Yeah,
like we have
okay.
time for one more question if you're all really, really brief. All right.
Sure.
I know it's gonna be hard to do. Well, as you know, the school budget and the city budgets are two separate entities, and two separate stacks of money. So my question to you is it ever appropriate for the city to go in and help the school on certain projects? Is that something philosophically that you disagree with, or do you think there are occasions when that needs to happen?
So the question is, do I see the school and city working together? Absolutely. We need the school system and the city to work together for the betterment of both. Right now, the school talk is, you know, are they in need of new facilities? You know, if they're in need of new facilities, they can work with the city. Where do you see your growth, or where can we grow together to benefit the community? So, as far as I would say keeping the dollars separate, but we have to work together to achieve the ultimate goal in providing the best town to live in, the best school systems to go to school, and create that community feel where the relationship between the school and the city has to be a positive. I think as of late, I think they're doing a pretty good job of working together. I wouldn't necessarily say it's going great, but with my relationships with people throughout the school system, I would like to be a positive and have a positive impact in working with them for the betterment of our future, of our kids, of our town.
I think in my past experience that we've had a more than adequate working relationship with the school. In fact, I think it's been really fantastic, because I can remember twice that when I worked for the city that we needed to acquire some land, additional land, to expand our utilities, like our water treatment plant, that type of thing. And actually the land where our city library is used to belong to the school. So I think there are times when we can scratch each other's backs and make things work more harmoniously, because it's just the way things ought to be. I really think that a whole lot more positive things happen when the two bodies work together.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think you know, if the school comes to us and they're in their need of some money or resources, then by all means we should help them out. I mean, we are a small community. We're not, you know, we know our neighbors. We know the kids' teachers. We know each other. So why? Yeah, by all means, I think we should help out. And you know, we're not just helping the school. We're helping out our future. You know, and that's really important to me. I want, you know, is the future. It's what West Branch is going to be in 20 and 30 years. So, you know, if a little bit here, a little bit there, yeah, I think by all means we should be open to helping the school out in any way that we can.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think the school obviously is a backbone of the community. People move to West Branch because they want to be a part of this school district, and to be able to say that, I think that's just really important. And I'll give an example. You know, recently the stop sign that was put in on Main Street, you know, that was really a product of hearing feedback from the school board and from folks that are part of the schools saying this is something that we really need. And so that was something where I felt very confident in voting for that, because we had that input from the schools. And that was something that, you know, the city put in, you know, contributed the cost of that stop sign into the, you know, accompanying signs and things like that. So those are the kinds of partnerships and, you know, relationships I think are really essential. So I definitely think that finding ways to help one another is critical.
Yeah, I definitely think the school and the city needs to work together. They've had several projects this summer, I think, making a one-way street into the middle school and different things, sidewalks up through the back, and there's gonna be trails coming up pretty quick. And I think we've put some pretty good money in to help you guys towards these projects, and will in future. We need to be a friend of yours, because we need to get the library ground from you.
We'll work together.
That's why we gotta work together. Whatever way we can, but, so far, you people have been very good and got along real good. There's gonna be some things straightened out, I think, in the future. And when this new addition gets graded next spring, there's gonna have to be some real meetings between the school and the city on how they're gonna make that road there at that intersection work right. There might have to be 3 lanes or 4 or something. So there's all kinds of possibilities, things that we need to work the school with.
Okay, with that answer, we're at 8:33, so that means my job is done, and now it's time for Alyssa and Jenna.
Okay, so we will draw our West Branch City Council candidate forum to a close. But before we excuse you, we'd like to again thank the candidates for coming and participating so that the voters can be better informed. And we wish each of you the very best of luck in your campaign.
We would again like to acknowledge the Brick Arch Winery and the West Branch Times for co-sponsoring the forum.
Other thank yous go out to the video team members Nick Shimon and Bill Crone, West Branch staff Claire Keeney, Amanda Hughes, and Doug Cummings, question committee members Mike Owens, Julie Bridges, Sally Peck, Kevin Hatfield, and Wayne Rowenholtz, moderator David Johnson, and to Janae for pulling me through tonight. Shy neither.
And to you, Juliet. Thank you. For those of you who joined us tonight, and for those of you who will be viewing this forum later on West Branch Community Access, WBCATV, Channel 5, we hope you found this forum educational and feel better prepared for the November 5th election. Thank you and good night.